Fife Flyers TV, sponsored by the Bay Hotel, Fife's premier wedding venue.
Todd, a 2-1 defeat to Belfast, and it felt like the team didn't really come alive till the third period.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that one, and in this manner. Okay, so now I think that you have to remember that Belfast are right up there as a league contender for a reason, and they're deep, they're well drilled, and they compete, and they competed for that entire game. I thought as a whole, that was one of our best matches throughout, and I'm comparing this to a previous weekend and even third period against Nottingham, where we've really gone a little bit flat. Now I'll back up. So I think in tight games like this, if one or two guys are off and missing assignments, we can make the rest of a group look imperfect. But I thought they were engaged. I thought they were working hard, and Belfast had a lot of pressure, which for the most part we kept them to the outside. That's one of our lowest shot counts of the year. So although they weren't necessarily in possession like we would like the puck, it was good. Now, moving on from that, our third period was our best period of the night. But once again, I think this team is, and it's a huge source of frustration for myself, and I certainly have vocalized it over the last couple of weeks, is we tend to dip our toe into games to see what kind of atmosphere is going to be out there. I think out of only 2 games this season, we scored the first goal, and that's because we have a couple of players that aren't switched on and ready to go. So what that does is it sucks the life out of the group, and all of a sudden guys come alive in the third period and we show what we're capable of. So the inconsistencies are really what's hurting us right now, and sometimes it's a lot of the group, sometimes it's a little of the group, but needless to say, that just grit and determination of a whole entire group for 60 minutes is just evading us right now, and it's frustrating, because if we were a team on the bubble of just trying to make the playoffs and that be good enough, that would be fine. But we find ourselves in a favorable position in this very good hockey league, and so I'm certainly a little disappointed on that part.
Yeah, I mean, tonight was a top of the table clash, and a genuine top of the table clash between the top 2 teams. Is there something in the mentality of, because the Flyers have never been that sort of team, is there something about kind of sort of switching that on amongst the players?
I don't know, and one positive that I forgot to mention was I thought our power play looked the best it's looked for a long time. Although, a lot of credit has to go to their goaltender. I think we forced him into a couple point-blank saves tonight, but it was the movement and the control that they had. Really, I really thought it looked static and with no energy the last couple of weeks. They came alive. Now, as far as not being in that position, this is pretty much a new team, so I don't think that's fair excuse for them to use. It's just, to stay at the top of this league, you need to be switched on every night. And there's a reason why some teams are at the top and some teams kind of middle of the packers and some teams at the bottom. There's a reason for that. And a big part of that is competing for 60 minutes.
Felt tonight like Belfast were almost sort of targeting Shane Owen tonight, trying to disrupt his game. Yeah, and it got to him at one point.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. Like, if you watched him play, like, Shane got, certainly the frustration there is the guy's allowed to spear him in the groin twice, point blank. This league is really cracking down on fighting, and they're punishing guys heavily for things that used to be normal in this league. And fair enough, that's the way the game's going. But they really need to protect these guys. If they don't want things after the whistle and they don't want games to escalate, they have to make sure that guys know that they're protected by the officials out there. And you can see it on the tape. Like, he's right in his crease, and he has no problem, taking advantage of that situation, which is a little disappointing.
2 more games to come this weekend. So you're down in Manchester tomorrow night, a team that you quite convincingly beat when they were up here last month.
Yeah, and we better be ready for it. I mean, it's a small little building. They're suited towards that building. It has to be physical. And we have a number of guys who really, for whatever reason, are shying away from the physicality. There's nothing scary going on out there. It's a man's game, and you have to be willing to throw the body sometimes and compete. And if we're not ready to compete in that building tomorrow, it's going to be a long night. And then Sunday night, down to Coventry Blaze and taking on a team that just beat you last weekend, so you must be wanting to kind of sort of correct that scoreline, I guess. Yeah, I don't think we played particularly well. I mean, we probably, our third period was our best period of the night. But the one thing I will say about that Coventry team is that, they look a lot more dynamic than any Coventry team that we've seen for a number of years. They're well drilled. They have a number of guys that can move the puck very well. I like them. And another team that, we have to go into that building. It's a little smaller. They play a game that they take off offensively, and they want to sting you. We need to be awake and ready once again. And, that's going to be every night in this league. And, we've been fortunate. We've played some really good hockey this year. And I think my source of my frustration is I certainly know they're capable of it.
The Bay Hotel, where your dream wedding becomes reality. Visit us at thebayhotel.net.